Okay, today I want to talk about the second video in the series of about 10 videos on life tips. So, today I'm going to talk about something where we are saying don't give a person 100% of your trust. This can include closest friends, it can be applicable to business. But I think I want to explain this a little bit better. Um, Trust isn't just an overarching type of concept. You can, or it is an overarching concept, I'm sorry, but what it is when you say you can't trust somebody 100% of the time, or when I say that and I feel that and I mean that, it's through experience. Not just me being on the receiving end, but also people being on the receiving end of trusting me. So let me kind of explain the two, I guess, if you want to call it X and Y axis here. So when I think of trust, um, I think of it as if it's a type of superficial or deep level of trust, which kind of goes hand in hand with trust in different things, right? Or different areas. Because let's take a friendship, for example. When you say you trust your friend, right? Whether it's 100% or whatnot, you're not saying you trust your friend unequivocally on every single possible thing in life, and you shouldn't. I think that's the key point is you shouldn't, and it's almost impossible to do that. I think. Okay, now what do I mean? So if you say you trust somebody, right? There's different things you can trust them on. So you could trust somebody to be always on time for you, like they're very punctual. That's a type of trust that is earned, meaningful, but you can trust them. You could also trust that. You could also not trust that person to be very careful with what they speak. They may be the type that gives up secrets without even realizing they've done so. So they have a quote unquote loose mouth. So the same person you could trust to be punctual may not be the person that you want to trust to tell them your secrets. So, or even something very important or dear to you. So that's an example where trust varies, even for the same person. Okay. Now, that's an example of varying types of trust, from one thing to another. Now, we could talk about the levels of trust, I think, in terms of what it is you trust a person. So, a very superficial example of where trust was broken for myself, I mean, because it was something I remember very clearly, was in college. I had a very good friend. He was a high school baseball player. We often hung out together, did a variety of things, and genuinely enjoyed each other's company. Met his best friend through there, and introduced me to a lot of other friends. And same here, I did that with him. One of the things that I lost his trust in was, for example, just simply he did not trust me to actually go on time to play catch with him or whatever. I left him standing for an hour and I had no real good reason for it. And he just simply said, I can't trust you anymore for that. I could trust you for anything else, but I can't trust you for that. Now, that is how I would describe a more superficial thing. So he specifically said, I can't trust you to be on time to play catch. Did he say, I can't trust you to be on time for me to pick me up to go to a relative's home, let's say because they're dying and I have no one else to call? Never said that. So the second example would be something I would say more severe. And if you misuse that trust, I would say that is technically worse than the first case I just gave. So the other part of it is I'm trying to establish is in addition to trust being across different areas, there's also trust on levels of superficiality or meaningfulness. So again, if I could trust someone to save my life, that's a very different type of trust than trusting someone to just I don't know, save food for me every time I am, you know, get home from work, let's say, or whatever. So that's an example, like two totally different things. I think to end this, what I want to say is it's very important that nowadays we realize trust is something that has to be earned. It's more than ever. I think trust is very easily taken away. I do believe people get second chances. That's me personally. So if you have lost my trust, I would personally very much be willing to give you another shot. Of course, the context here being just how badly did you misuse or abuse my trust on for that specific thing. That being said, the point here is look, share your thoughts on this. I think people have varying degrees of what they consider, trust is. But also, I think that most people probably would agree with this. Again, not trying to be cynical, but I think there's some truth to this. And so, just bear intention and bear in mind. Okay, thanks. And as always, like and follow, subscribe, and we'll move on to the third in the series in the next video. Thanks.